we want to get to a Face the State exclusive. A new candidate is now in the race for the U.S. Senate, seat currently held by Senator Joe Lieberman. He is State Representative William Tong, Democrat of Stamford. Representative Tong, good to see you here.
Hey, good to see you, Dennis.
So it's now official. You're in the race. What led to this decision?
Well, first I want to say, if I can, Happy Mother's Day to my mom.
Absolutely.
And my grandmother and my wife, who's at home expecting our third child, and she's also taking care of Eleanor and Penelope, my 5-year-old and our 2-year-old.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And after giving it a lot of thought and getting the go-ahead from my wife and my mom, I've decided, and I'm very excited to say, that I'm going to be running for the U.S. Senate.
What kind of senator do you think you'll be if you were elected?
I think I'll be a bridge. You know, right now in Washington, there's so much rancor. It's gotten so partisan. I think we need people who are full of pragmatic solutions and get down there and really bring people together. I think of, you know, Senator Paul Tsongas, who was an inspiration to me when I was in college, and what he brought to that race in 1992. The book he wrote, A Call to Economic Arms. He talked about deficit reduction. You know, he played an incredibly important role in the presidential race, and he was a very important senator from Massachusetts. And I'd like to think that I can be as effective as he was.
We first heard the rumors last fall that some folks wanted you to run for the Senate. Walk us through that process between back then and now.
Well, you know, when Senator Lieberman decided to retire, we started talking about it, and we looked at the field and we started to think about, you know, where are we in this country, and what do people need to hear, and what kind of senator do they need? We need to get our confidence back in this country. And, you know, when my dad came to this country, he had just 57 cents when he showed up in Hartford. He cooked Chinese food in a Chinese restaurant in Bloomfield. He met my mom. She was a waitress. And later on, when they opened their own place, I worked side by side with my parents in our Chinese restaurant. And we had this confidence, we had this certainty that if we just worked hard, stuck together, that we could make it, and that my sisters and I would have better opportunities than my parents. For the first time in my life recently, I've heard people say that they don't believe that anymore, that they don't think they can do better for themselves and their families and their children. I'm running because I can prove that they can. The American dream is still alive. It's alive right now. You know, I'm the first Asian American to serve in the state legislature, the first Democrat ever to hold my seat. Mine is an unlikely story, but I'm here, I'm running for the United States Senate, and I know that the American dream is possible, but we have to fight for it.
Now, I'm sure there are some folks who are saying, you know, we already have Susan Bysiewicz in the race and Chris Murphy in the race. Why do we need a William Tong? What's your answer to that?
Well, look, I don't think that there are enough people in Washington or in government generally who live as we do, who struggle, who know how hard it is to get up every day and push hard against $4 gas, or try to run a small business in this tough economy, or get up and go to work when you're not even sure work is going to be there. I'm not a billionaire, I'm not a congressman, I'm not a household name. I'm not entitled to be a U.S. senator, and it's certainly not the next and natural political step. But I know what it is to struggle. I know how hard it is for people right now. People need to hear that in Washington. And let me tell you, in that restaurant, you know, my parents did two incredible things for me. They made unbelievable sacrifices for me and my 4 sisters, and they taught me to fight and compete. And that's what we have to do. We have to fight and compete in this country. People need to hear that, and that's why I'm running.
You had a very inspirational professor in law school. Tell us about him.
The president, he was my constitutional law professor. At the time, already a rock star, you know, very bright, very even-handed and thoughtful. But at the time, he had just lost a Democratic primary for Congress. He took on an incumbent of his own party. It wasn't a successful race, and soon after that, he jumps in the U.S. Senate race, where he also was not a front-runner. Right? And when he ran for president, he wasn't expected to win. To know somebody like that, and to have a political example like that, a barrier breaker, is tremendously inspiring to me. And that's why I think, look, this field is a formidable one. It's going to be a tough fight. But if I were afraid of tough fights, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
And you worked for his presidential campaign in 2008. I know you represented him in a debate, in fact, one here on
twice on
Face the State. Do you plan on helping him in this next?
I do. I believe very much in the president's leadership. He's stabilized our country after a very, very difficult period in our history, a very dark period in our history. And, you know, we're rebuilding now. And I think after the news of this week with the death of Osama bin Laden, the country can take a deep breath and, you know, reassess where we are and start again and rebuild. For those of us that lived in Lower Fairfield County at that time, I was on a train to New York City that morning. My wife was already there. She had an apartment a couple of blocks from Ground Zero. My sister, for some reason, decided that she, you know, wasn't going to go to work that day in World Trade 7. So we got lucky, and but many of our neighbors and friends did not. And now we get a chance to start over. That part of this chapter has come to a close, and I think the president is the right person to lead us forward.
One final question: in 2006 and 2010, both Senate races in our state were very expensive to run.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't have jumped in if you didn't feel the waters a little bit. What did you learn about?
No, we feel very good about our message, about our place in this race, and about the resources. There's no doubt it's going to be a very significant and heavy lift in that department. We probably won't have as much support from Washington as other people in this race, but that's not what we're looking for. This race is about Connecticut. It's about the people of Connecticut. It's about the voters in the Democratic primary and then the voters in the general, and we feel really good about our chances.
And I imagine we'll be seeing debates between Susan Bysiewicz, Chris Murphy, and yourself.
Hope so.
William Tong, newly announced candidate for the U.S. Senate. Thank you for being on the program today. We'll see you on here again.